Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out another episode of Drinks with Johnny. Joined via Skype is RJ and Lzzy Hale of Halestorm. Thanks for doing the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, cheers. Let's start it off with a virtual cheers. There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
On camera.
Yeah.
I like your logo on your microphone.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to have that personally made. No, it's a sticker I threw on here. It's pretty pretty low tech around here. You guys, speaking of tech, though, looks like you guys are in your home studio right now. Is that what that is?
Yeah, home studio, and we try to do some mood lighting. We thought, we're drinking wine, being classy with you.
Cigar, some jazz.
Some jazz, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, what are you guys up to these days right now? Like, thank you for taking time out of your jury duty, right?
Oh, yeah, dude. What the hell? I tried to get out of it, man. They weren't having any of it.
No.
I even walked in like full stage garb, just like heels and like leather and whatever, thinking maybe they'd look at me and say, "Hooligan, you're out."
Yeah.
No, I think it actually worked in my favor because I've been doing it for like 3 days and it's great.
Man. Well, I know you can't legally say like much about it. Can you say like on what level of trial this is that you're involved in?
It's pretty up there.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Well, I mean, anything that's already lasting 3 days, I'm sure, is pretty up there.
It's a doozy.
Yeah.
It is a doozy.
You're not on the jury too, are you, RJ?
No.
Thankfully, no. I get kicked out in 5 seconds.
You know what? Honestly, you probably wouldn't have made the cut. There was like 4 rounds of this stuff.
Hey, where's the criminal? Where's he at?
And
He's out here.
They select you randomly, and then they have to ask you a bunch of questions, and they make you be there. Like I have to be there at like 8:30 tomorrow morning. Hopefully, it's over tomorrow. But I dragging it out.
Well, let's make sure you're good and hungover.
Yeah, that's what I say. Maybe you'll get kicked off. Cheers.
Yeah.
So how's the wine, by the way? You're tasting it now?
I really like it. It's really nice and dry.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
But it does have like an a sweetness to it.
It's like, it's really
like a cherry.
This is my kind of wine. I'm like not a big fruity red wine kind of guy, so this is like right up my alley.
Perfect. Yeah, I asked before you guys were going to do the show. Wanted to find out. So I'm glad we did. I'm glad we had some good tasting for you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, it's red and it gets you drunk, so I don't see how you can go wrong.
I mean, I agree with that. So you guys were just out for you guys were both just out for the NAMM show, right? Like in January.
You weren't there.
Oh, no, I didn't make it this year.
I went out with Joe, our guitar player, but yeah, that's crazy. I haven't been to NAMM in a couple of years because I did some stuff for Gibson last year, but they skipped NAMM last year. They did the CES festival, the Computer Electronics Science, which was awesome because the Gibson people were like such the cool kids because like you go in the building and it's like, robotic washing machines and like all this weird stuff, this AI stuff, and then they gave Gibson like their own like building and there was like a huge stage and that was cool. And I thought I was gonna not have to go to NAMM this year, and it ended up I had to go to NAMM. But
they got you again.
Yeah, well, it was awesome though. It's like it's kind of like crazy because you know what it's like. You
it's fun to run into everybody and hang out.
And, we're trading off years because last year I was the only one that went because I did stuff with Pearl and Vader and all that.
Yeah, nobody wanted you.
Yeah, no, this year it was like I took the year off. It was nice.
It's good to take the year off.
It was really cool. At one point in time, there was a moment that I did the Gibson Jam thing, and they had me up. Well, first of all, they had myself and our guitar player Joe up doing one of our songs, but with Richie Faulkner from Priest and Chuck Garrick from Alice Cooper, and and Andy Arnoff was playing. So it was really weird to play your own song with only one other person that is in your band and nobody else.
It sounded so much better.
It really did. And then I got up again, and they just got everybody up, and I'm like in between, Rick Nielsen and Slash, and there's Robin Zanders up there, and Jared James Nichols, and like all these other like amazing like players, Billy Gibbons, and we're doing "Whole Lotta Love," which is which is a one guitar player song, by the way. And there's like 9 guitar players up there doing whole. It was really cool.
No, that's awesome though. That kind of sums up the NAMM show though for anyone who's listening or watching who hasn't had a chance to go out to Southern California to the NAMM show. It is a lot of they got some all stars running around there, and it's a fun vibe.
Were you out there?
What's that?
Did you get out there?
Not this year. I went last year. Like you said, it's good to go on off. You don't want to go there too often.
Yeah. It is exhausting after a while. Yeah.
Yeah, we just did that.
Not as exhausting as shipwreck.
Yeah, I was gonna say not as exhausting as shipwreck.
That's exhausting.
Which is awesome. It's
fun.
Okay, so you know about these rock cruises, right? So it's a bunch of bands. And we opened and headlined. So it was the first day was like the send off, awesome, and then like for the next 5 days you're stuck in a boat with literally like all of your super fans.
Yeah. I've been asking about this. So I've had like a few of the people who've done like these wrestling cruises, these rock and roll cruises, all these things, and I'm like, it's got to be exhausting. You love your fans, and it's the only reason why you're even where you're at in your life. But then like now. They don't understand that you got to be on at all times with them. So it's like,
Well, with us, we just had to plan a good like half hour to an hour if you want to do anything. If you want to like, go to the pool, or if you want to eat, you got to plan because it's like every 10 feet. Oh, hey, let's get a picture, which is awesome. It's such a weird balance because like by the end of it, we were completely exhausted because we were just like talking for 5 days straight, and we had 2 performances, and then but it was fun because you really get to like spend time, like real time with these people, go to 8 shows in a row anyway. So like you get to, it was kind of like a weird reunion of all of the like diehard fans. But at the same time, it's like, whoosh, when it was over, I slept for like 2 days.
I think we're still kind of recovering from it. But honestly, like I loved it. Like I jumped headfirst into it. We knew exactly what we were getting into.
You signed everybody's door.
You signed everybody's door?
I walked up on every single hallway on every single floor. This is a 12-story, whatever you call it, ship. And it was a huge carnival cruise, so it was like I signed every door that I possibly could with like a little, piece of paper, or they decorate the doors, they go all out, So just anything we get involved in, we're like let's just do as much as we possibly can, and then when it's done, we'll just sleep for 8 days straight.
Yeah. Also for that charity auction.
Oh, then I did a charity auction for Cancer Sucks, which is cool.
We had never seen RJ be like near host for anything, like before, and your character was somewhere a mixture of Steve Martin, televangelism, and Bob Barker.
That's great. If you could roll that all into one, it sounds like you're a much better host than I am. I mean, that's great. That's not saying much. Hey, who's that familiar face in the back? How you doing? Get some wine, man. Come on in. More the merrier. How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
Are you here for the show or the wine?
Just the wine.
Okay, perfect.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. Cheers.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's the same wine opener I have because I'm familiar with it, but it also, to some other people, could look like something else. It's not a dildo. Okay, we're just making sure.
I'm sure we have one of those around here too.
You could use it like that if you want.
I mean, that'd be probably pretty interesting. I know that corkscrew. So it's funny you guys were saying how like exhausting that can be, and I'm sure it was like after that many days, which says a lot considering how much you guys fucking tour and like doing that, like how often. Like I think I should tell the people a little bit about how we all first met. Was I don't remember the name of the tour now, but it was like in 2009 or 10, right?
It was Uproar.
It was Uproar.
With you guys, Disturbed, and Stone Sour, Hell Yeah.
That's what it was, yeah. I just remember being backstage the first time when you guys came back and we all met, and that was like, that was my first introduction to you guys.
Yeah, man.
That was a long time ago.
That's still, to this day, like, is one of the most fun tours of our career.
That was so much fun, because we were pretty new on the scene. We'd been a band for a while, but we were still promoting our first record, right?
It was a long tour, too. About it, like most of our tours are only maybe max 6 weeks. That was a full full-on 2-month tour. So by the end of it, we all really got close with everybody.
Yeah, and we lost our minds a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It was our first major tour, so we're just like, woo!
Yeah.
We don't, you know.
Yeah, and you guys are really bad influences on that one, too.
Oh, yeah.
What are you talking about? I am an angel. I invite you onto my show and send you not 1, but 2 bottles of wine. Whatever do you mean? Are you calling me a pusher, Liz?
Whatever do you mean.
One for each.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, like the wine, I got it literally this morning, and I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's just 1 bottle of wine. I'm like, aha, yes, I should have expected that from you.
Well, they call him 2-bottle Johnny.
Yeah, yeah. You guys have 1 for each, and I have 2 for myself. So we're settled. Before we go any further, I will say I might ask you guys the question a couple of times. Right now, I'm having a little bit of an internet issue on whatever's coming through.
Okay.
If I repeat myself, that's the reason why. I'm not that drunk yet.
You're not, yeah, not yet.
Don't talk about our first time we met.
Yeah.
Guys, remember?
That's the whole podcast. Actually, that's all I do here. Is go. You remember the time, and then and everyone's like, I can't relate to this podcast.
I'm also curious how long you've been in the podcast world. Like,
I just started. This is like I'm starting season 2, but it all kind of happened because we were doing extra content for Avenged Sevenfold YouTube and everything like that, and I was like, okay, let me figure out something cool that I can do and just give a little insight to the fans of something that's not all about music, you know. And I created the show a little bit. It's completely evolved from where it started, and someone on the set was like, you know, if we just pull the audio, we can make it a podcast. And then I realized the podcast was way more fun to do because we could get the long form. If I was making videos on YouTube, I was shortening them, and a lot of people were missing content that way. And I was like, you know, screw it, we're going to make it a podcast. We still have the YouTube for people to subscribe to, and we clip out like certain snippets that are, you know, exciting and stuff. But like, it's much more enjoyable to sit back with people like you guys that are, you know, interesting, come from like a great background and have like a cool story to share with everybody. And that's just what we do. We're just going to sit here and chill, have some wine, like we did the first time we were backstage together, and talk some shit.
I love about podcasts, though, is it is just a really relaxed conversation. It's not like listening to an interview. So when people are just like at the grocery store or driving around, they can kind of like phase in, they can phase out. But, you know, it's kind of relaxing, I think. I'm a fan of podcasts. I listen to a lot of them. So.
What are some of your favorites?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, of course, Joe Rogan's got a great one.
Yeah.
Shepard's has a good one. Sam Harris, his podcast is
I love
really
the Sam
great.
Harris one, too. Yeah.
So interesting. That guy's so smart.
I don't know who hosts it because I haven't listened in a while. But have you ever listened to Song Exploder?
Oh, Song Exploder.
No, I haven't.
Who does that? Do you remember?
Also, a Vox I think does Switched on Pop, which is like songwriters and musicologists that break down
I like
songwriting stuff. There's a lot of music business ones about like the future, like the new platforms of promoting your music.
How I Built This is a good one.
Yeah,
too.
that's a good one. Yeah.
The Song Exploder is really cool because it goes from everybody from like the classic people, like classic musicians that I should say not classic, but legendary musicians, new people, and they take a song and they break it down. They tell you how they wrote it, what happened first, and then how they recorded it.
All the sounds.
And then they
play
it at the end. So you have this whole new perspective of the song when you listen to it again.
It really makes you a fan of the song. You're like, oh my God, I love this song now.
Or totally not.
Or not.
They were just so pretentious, and they thought that they were like God's gift to the. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, I hate this song.
Oh, that was us.
Was that us? Okay.
You guys were on that podcast? Speaking of that, what is it? So let's dive into that real quick, though. They can't be the only podcast that gets to talk about that. Let's talk about a little bit of your guys' recording process.
Okay. We're off tour right now, and we're demoing for a record, so we're writing right now.
That's kind of where we're at now. We're kind of in in the basement here, an old basement studio. We got our gear behind us, and we're gonna start jamming.
Is this how you guys do every record? You get together in like a home studio and kind of jam out parts? Because everyone, as you know, if you're a fan of that podcast, everybody has a different way of, and of course, being on the road, you learn everyone has a different way of creating music. What's your guys' process? Like, take me down the fucking lane.
I feel like every process has changed with every album, which is like pretty much like every milestone of our career. You know, the first records were very
like we got all the songs like ready and done, and then we went and recorded them.
We did it with Howard Benson, and like his system is very systematic. You know, he's got his process, and we kind of just like went right through the mill there, and I'm glad we did it because we had no idea what we were doing, and it was great to have a team that like had their process and their system ready to go. So we got the songs written, we got all the parts written, we went in, we knocked it out, recorded it, went out, mixed it, mastered it, went on tour. You know, next album was a little bit more laid back. Third album was even more laid back.
Yeah, third album was chaos.
That was a mess, but it was a fun mess.
It was a fun mess.
But the last record that we came out with, Vicious, was which we did with Nick Resculenix, was kind of more back to the basics of how we used to write in our parents' basement in Pennsylvania. We did it in his studio, which was this cabin in the woods in outside of Nashville, and it was great. It was just the four of us in a room together, writing songs from the ground up again. Not necessarily like taking co-writes or taking other songs and turning them into Halestorm songs. It was the more organic, ground up type of writing.
And you know, every day we'd come in and Nick would be like, "Okay, who's got an idea? Who's got something special?" You know. Whether that's a riff or a lyric or a melody line or a whole song or whatever it is. And so every day that's just what we would do. And we set up like kind of like what we have back here, because we have like a kind of a jam spot back there, and he would have like, you know, everything there, and we would just start jamming on it. And it's funny because we ended up getting our first single from that very first week. And for us, it was just like this instrumental that we really liked the riff, and so we just kind of did that.
Which was the first song on that?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, okay.
And then I took it home and kind of got in my booth here and just kind of wrote the rest of it as far as lyrically and vocally. But I don't know, it was a lot of fun. We're planning on doing that again, but it's going to be a little different this time because we're going to kind of start with just the four of us without Nick in the room, and then he's going to kind of like every now and then, like we're good friends with it now. So every now and then he's gonna just like kind of, hey, what do you got?
He'll pop in.
Yeah, he'll pop in.
And you guys now have that rapport with each other, that trust where you're like, you know, you've already done it together. You're like, well, you know, he's like, they're gonna do their thing, and they're gonna bring it to me, and then we're gonna work together on it, kind of vibe.
And it's good to have somebody like. I don't think we could ever really self-produce. We probably could eventually. Maybe I shouldn't say never.
I think that if we're given all the time and all the resources in the world,
we'll just keep
going.
The
record would never be done. We need someone who has kind of an ear.
Absolutely. That's been us too. We've self-produced and stuff like that, but we've learned that it is great to have like that, well, for us, that sixth member that's around that can kind of help with the process and keep you focused, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, and also just like, you know, and I don't know about you, but like I know with me, sometimes I can think something is terrible, and everybody will be like, no, I love it, or I'll think something is great, and then it never comes to fruition, and so I love the fact that there is a definitive, almost voice of God, you know, that's like that's good, that's not I have a history, you know.
I think that's a common denominator in most bands. And, you know, artists have different ways, but if you're in a band and you're writing together, there is that feeling of when you're bringing something that you've got by yourself, and you're, like you said, you're either super stoked on it, and someone's like, and you're like, oh, back to the drawing board. or sometimes, like, you'll just be jamming in the corner, and I'm sure RJ will hear something and just be like, we got to do something with that kind of vibe.
Well, that happened actually on the last record. I wrote this song called "Do Not Disturb," and it was just this like kind of synthy, like I you know, like pop song that wasn't meant for Halestorm. I showed it to RJ and Josh, our bass player Josh, and I'm like, what, you know, hey, this is funny. Here we go. And Josh is like, oh no, we have to put that on the record. I'm like, no, we don't. And he's like, yeah, that part can be like a Joe can play that on guitar. We can do this, and like he like came up with a bass line like that day for it. I'm like, shit, okay, fine, I guess we're doing that.
What song did that turn into?
That turned into it was the original "Do Not Disturb" was that song.
So our second single.
Our second single, which is again, like I said, I know nothing apparently, because I didn't think that was going to be any, and then it ended up as a second single. Like,
I mean, kind of out of desperation, like when we're writing or traveling, it's just so convenient to use Logic or Ableton and use the instruments in the box, because you have no way of tracking anything. So a lot of times it'll come off sounding electronic or pop or it won't sound like a rock song. But then if you have an imagination, you're like, oh, let's just add some crunchy guitars and a solo and voila, here it is.
Absolutely.
We slowed down the tempo.
You got to be able to hear whether there's a good song in there somewhere.
Yeah, we slowed down the tempo quite a bit, so it was like trudgier too. And I don't know, it's interesting. But like I have no problem like drafting and redrafting. I don't know about you guys, but like we're like never precious with anything. It's like you know when it's right.
I think that comes with time. Like you guys have been writing for a long time too. I think that's something that just comes with time. Like when you're writing in middle school, you're a teenager, everything was so precious. And then like after you start to learn, we have checks and balances in the songwriting where it's like, oh, that's great, but is it up here? And I think one of the famous stories of that is if you go back to Queen with "I'm in Love with My Car," and that one ended up making it, but everyone else in Queen was poo-pooing it.
Yeah.
You guys know that story, right?
Hey, I'm in love with my car,
But I think that kind of stuff happens all the time. You bring something in, and you got to have thick skin as a songwriter.
I'm gonna take it one step further. I'm in love with a Lime scooter.
What the fuck is a Lime scooter?
She gets around.
So there are these.
What, you don't know about Lime scooters?
So we're in Nashville, and there are these scooters everywhere. It's like an app, and you pay.
Like Uber for scooters. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Okay, I didn't know that they were. I think they're called something different out here. We use a different app out here in the West Coast.
Oh,
Birds, Lime. Yeah, they're all. I do see them in LA quite a bit now, but. But you don't live in LA though. Are you like outside of LA, or are you in Orange? Or?
Yeah, no, we're south of LA. It's Orange County. Huntington Beach is the city. It's right on the beach. Yeah. Have you guys ever made it out there before?
I don't ever get to make it out there enough. I got a place up in Woodland Hills, like up in like the West Valley area in LA. But it's so nice down there. I do love it down there.
Well, when you come back down, all of you guys, make sure if we're home in Huntington, hit me up. We'll go cruise around the beach and have some fun. Maybe drink some more wine in person.
That's it. I'll bring the wine next time.
Yeah. We've already topped it out. Yeah. I feel we're getting more talkative as we.
I'm
That's
also
the part of the show. You gotta have an icebreaker.
Oh, yeah. I'm also curious where we are right now. Like, is this your little creative studio that we're in right now?
Yeah, this is it. I don't do any like real recording here. I'll do demoing here, and obviously the podcast here. I'll edit and do all those kind of things. Like right now, you guys are on my. There's about a 50-inch screen, and I got my Genelex speakers, a keyboard, everything. My rack of basses behind me, and some guitars over here.
Arsenal you've got behind you.
There's also, I think you forgot about like your buddy back there needs a burger.
In there.
He was actually fat when this podcast started, and then
a little.
How long have we been talking?
A little long. Does he have a name?
You want to give him a name, Lzzy? He doesn't have a name. He's just been hanging back there on the 3.
What's up, Dad?
He's what?
Dead.
Dead. Yeah, he's just dead.
Yeah. Is that the 6th member of Avenged Sevenfold right there?
That's the guy.
Yeah,
funny enough, I had Joe Escalante of the Vandals on, and I had him sitting up at the drum kit that's back here before. It's just an electric kit that I have to like demo stuff out. And I had him set up. He's like, this guy's looking more and more like Josh Freese. We were drinking a bunch of his drummer.
Well, I want what you were drinking.
Also, Shannon Larkin. That man is a walking skeleton.
He looks just actually, yeah.
We were out with those guys. Man.
Oh, Godsmack. Yeah.
Ago.
Do you know those guys at all?
We've done some shows with him. I haven't really had the pleasure. I think we've passed by and said hello.
Shannon's a sweetheart. He got me a leather jacket, and because like we were like leather jacket buddies on the tour because he always was wearing one and so was I, and all of a sudden like the last day of tour, like Shannon's like, here, I got you a red one. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet.
He got all you guys leather jackets, and he got me this crazy floral, loud, like Grandpa Shot the Couch jacket that I love.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, but that sounds like you, RJ. I think you nailed it.
On highlighter pink right now.
Oh, I was trying to blend in, really.
Yeah.
What's really funny is that's the most normal jacket I think I've ever seen you wear.
Oh, I know.
I've got my eyes on the one you're wearing. I like that.
Hey, no problem, man. You know, funny story about that. That's actually a jumpsuit that my wife ordered, and she ordered it in the wrong size. She said it's too big, and then she said, do you want it? And I said, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I have the jumpsuit ready for this, too.
What was the tour that you guys did where you had the guy drop from the scaffolding and like hang himself or whatever?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was the entire Nightmare cycle. So that was when we met you guys too. So we had that out on Uproar as well, and then we continued it through the thing.
Okay. Cool. I was thinking, like, the first time I saw that, I really did think something was wrong. And then as it went on, I'm like, okay, somebody would have like stopped the show by now. You know, it was so good trick. It really was
Speaking
awesome.
of which, Big T says hi.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love Big T.
T's our boy. We love him. He was so good on the boat.
He was on the boat with us, right? And that man needs a raise.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
For you listening at home, Big T is exactly what he sounds like. He's a gigantic 6'7" or 6'7" security guy.
Yes.
But he is a human teddy bear.
Yes.
We share a very similar experiences with him. Take him out to Brazil. He should earn some more money there too. You guys travel in Brazil a lot?
We have been many times, and it's
I think like 2 or 3 times.
It's a whole other fandemonium there, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time we were ever in Brazil was in 2013 with remember
Adrenaline Mob.
We had Adrenaline Mob up and up first, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing: we didn't have any security at that point because we didn't think we needed it. Whatever, we've never been there before, right? Had no idea. Nobody warned us. And
you didn't? Did you not know us before? You could have asked.
No, like we could have asked anybody.
We got this.
It's fun.
We're fine.
And the promoter had assigned us 3 security guys, so to just like go with us, like to the hotel, to the venue, whatever. And I remember telling the security guys, because like I don't know, I like getting to know them, and I'm like, hey dudes, like nobody knows who we are. Like the jig is up. This is like way overboard. Like we don't even have a security guy in the States. Like nobody cares. And oh my gosh, so we got to the venue in a van, and like it was like Beatlemania, man. It's we didn't think anybody would know who we are, right? So we come up with the van, and everybody on the side of the van is like just beating on the van. We try to open the door. We can't open the door. We finally get the door open, and I walk out, and they're taking my jacket, and they're like pulling whatever. And so these security guys hold me up by my elbows, and I'm like, see you later. Like, just like carrying me into the venue. Like, what the fuck was that, right? And then they're camping out in the hotel room. And I want to tell you this beautiful thing that happened, right? So this was in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's a beautiful theater we were playing. First time ever. And these people took it upon themselves to be a part of the show. So when we played a song of ours called Freak Like Me, everybody held up a flag that said Freak. And then when we...
Here's to us, they somehow hid balloons.
I don't know how they hid balloons.
I don't know how
they all had them in backpacks or something.
Well,
and they threw balloons
I have an
there.
idea of how they could have smuggled those balloons in.
RJ, this is a PG show. No, it's not.
Oh, sorry,
This is definitely not a PG show. I'm fucking with you.
Yeah.
But yes, balloons that they did.
And then what was the O thing?
Oh, for I Miss the Misery, they held up a bunch of signs that said O-O-H. Because the opening riff
there's
goes
a
like
wall
this.
part.
It goes, oh. And I was like, yes, they're very interactive.
It was such a beautiful thing because I'm like, it was like a show for us, and it was like this crazy like situation of appreciation, and I'll never forget it.
If you're
if you're a band that needs ego stroking, Just go to South. It's
it
like
doesn't matter.
It's like Beatlemania. You will come back with NPD. It's
What's NPD?
Narcissistic personality.
Oh, okay.
You will think you are the shit.
First of all, I want to ask which band out there doesn't need their ego stroking just a little bit.
That's true. It does. Every now and then.
Radiohead? I don't know.
No, but I mean, I just mean like we all got into this music. It's not like we were always the most confident people growing up. I'm sure, you know. I don't know, but maybe you were RJ. I mean, you
RJ was born camera ready.
No.
Oh, you were. Okay, so first of all, so like I remember vividly my little brother being like 8 years old, right? And we'd go into a grocery store at any point in time, and you know they have the surveillance
yeah.
video right when you walk in the door.
With the mirror.
Lose him in the store, and he would be just like, "Hey, I can see myself on camera." Is it like
I used to throw myself down the stairs when people would come over, just like, everybody. I don't know.
Really?
Just to make them laugh.
I don't remember.
I'm still recovering from that.
You did fall down the stairs twice when you were like 4.
Yeah.
Which explains so much.
Those were
I was
those
gonna
times.
say that sounds like the explanation for everything.
It explains so much.
That's funny though. I'm a like-minded akin to you, RJ. Like I definitely remember those cameras. My mother was an aerobics teacher, and sometimes I would be sick, so she couldn't send me to school, but she wasn't going to miss teaching the aerobics, so she sent me in the corner. And you know, anybody who's been in an aerobics gym, which of course everyone has, they got these mirrors everywhere. And
my mom was obsessed with that too. It's like back in those days. Yeah,
I remember that. Spandex,
yeah, and they have these mirrors everywhere, and they're playing, you know, upbeat music to get you going. There's a lot of Michael Jackson and stuff playing.
Yeah.
Of course, Gloria Estefan was my jam. I'd be in the corner there dancing, and all the ladies in the aerobics class would have, like stop, and I wouldn't even realize it that they were watching me like dance in the corner in front of this thing.
Cute.
We're all just trying to belong.
Yeah, you know. I think that's why we get it. So you guys actually, did you guys come from a music family? Obviously, the two of you, but was the mother and father as well?
Well, no, our dad was a bass player back in the bands that you'd never hear of. I think the one band that he was with the longest was called Hyper, and there was somewhere where like Kiss meets the Doors,
Psychedelic.
But get this, so like my dad's drug advice when we were like teenagers, like, okay, kids, don't do drugs. But if you're going to do drugs,
I love where this is going already.
Make sure each member of your band does the same drug.
This is first-hand experience knowledge.
Because he believes that they never made it because like the keyboard player was on uppers and the drummer was on downers and whatever. And that's what
he said the reason the band really broke up was because of a tape delay pedal. They just they couldn't get the delay to be the perfect tempo of the song. Like, God, we're breaking up, and that's what happened.
I like that story, RJ, but I'm gonna go with the other one because
that was his way of cleaning up for us when we were kids. Like, it was the tape delay.
Yeah, because the drug thing came later.
Yeah, whatever, Dad.
But these parents they do their thing. But no, my dad's hilarious, and he's come into his own in his old age now. Now it's like shock white hair. He paints his toenails black. He's like he's always been weird. And I think that we can trace back now like our ownership of our weird back to Dad, because it was always that example. And I remember like being a kid, right? So the day I found out that I was not cool, a lot of people
listening are like, wait, that day happened?
I found I was not cool and not like the other girls was we moved in, it's like 96. We moved into a 20-acre farm. Our parents were weird. Like we were born outside of Philly. They did up the house. My dad was like mechanic, carpenter dude, right? And like third shift mechanic, whatever. And they would fix up the house. They sold it. Then we moved to a log cabin in the woods for like 2 years. My dad fixed it up. They sold it. Then we moved to a 20-acre farm. They had like these little tiny midlife crises, like we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So we spent most of our young adult life.
This will save everything.
This will save us.
And then income you too.
Yeah. But so we moved to this 20-acre farm, like fully immersed. We spent most of our young adult life there. but moved in this farm. I didn't know anybody. There was like surrounding neighbors. So the surrounding neighborhood girls, I was 11. They invited me to a sleepover, right? So, but they also said, hey, bring your favorite CDs because we're gonna like listen to each other's music and whatever. So, granted, this is '96. You can probably see where this is going.
Oh yeah, I love it.
When TLC and like there was like Boyz II Men, Backstreet Boys. There's a bunch of like stuff on the radio. You're totally.
Now don't start talking about fucking ages over there, man. Like I am. Respect your elders, all right?
Yeah, respect your elders.
I'm respecting you.
Whippersnapper. But so I brought.
Whatever, fuck you, Dad.
I brought Alice Cooper's "Love It to Death" and Ronnie James Dio's "Holy Diver" to this sleepover when I was 11 because that's what I was listening to. I was listening to Dad's music, so it was like a lot of 70s and a lot of 80s.
Awesome.
Those girls looked at me like I was from another planet, and it was. We didn't even make it. The first CD I put in was Alice Cooper. We didn't even make it past the first chorus. They're like, "Why do you like this?" And I remember thinking, well, why don't you like this? But I didn't understand that at the time. So I came home, and Dad had just kind of come in from his ship. He was a third shift mechanic, so he would always come home like early in the mornings. I came home next morning from the sleepover, and I'm like, hey, Dad, he's like, oh, how's the sleepover? I'm like, it was fun, but they didn't like my music. And he's like, that's good. And I'm like, why? Why is that good, Dad? My life is over. I'll never have any friends. They all think I'm weird. And he's like, well,
girls are so mean.
Girls are they're worse. Girls will shit on your heart. Guys,
Wait. I believe there's a name for that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what the name is, nor do I expect anyone.
Tuning in Drinks with Johnny after hours.
It's actually if you look up the term in Swedish for the corner of a table, that's what they are.
We're learning things.
It starts with a C.
This is what the show is, everybody. We are educating the kids. That's what we're trying to do here.
That is actually a true story. In Swedish, cunt actually is the corner of a table.
Ooh.
So if you like stub your like leg on the corner of a table, you're like, cunt!
I'm sure that's how we got it from English. They probably had it like way before. They're like, that's a great word.
We'll take anything, really.
But like, Dad was like, good, man. It's like, because those girls liked all of that music because somebody, at their school said it was cool. They're being told on the radio that this is what's popular. They want to fit in, but always stand out and always be proud to just love the music that you love just because you love it, even if nobody thinks it's cool. I'm like, well, and so at the time, I'm like, whatever, Dad. But now I can really trace back that again, like I said, pride of being different back to those moments. And it had a lot to do with Dad. But anyway, to answer the long story short, we really digressed there. But so Dad was a bass player. Mom wanted to be a guitar player, but her parents said no. So when we got to jamming together and decided to start a band, they were like, all right, what can we do? Almost like a validation, like, hey,
it wasn't
we're not going to be like
okay,
our
whatever.
parents.
Like, if it doesn't work out in a couple of years, make sure you get your degree and all that. Like,
that
no, they
was
were
the
like,
deal.
they're like, how can we help?
That's rad.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I think that's more than cool. I think that's great. Like, you don't get that all the time. In doing this show, everyone has a different walk of life, right? And a lot of people are sitting there saying they were still struggling. They had to, and not just in music, they had to abandon their family values in order to succeed. And it wasn't until they succeeded, unfortunately, that the families came back.
No, I see that happen to so many people where they don't really have that parental support. It's just like,
and I think if we didn't have that, we probably wouldn't have started because we love our parents.
Unfortunately, I think that's just so important for so many. Like, I'm curious about your upbringing. Were your parents like that?
Yeah. I mean, my parents were always very, very supportive. Music was like always, big. My mom more so than my dad because when it came time that I was getting in trouble as a teen and everything, my dad was like, all right, we're shipping you off to military school or something like that. And to this day, he says, I'm so glad that your mom and you talked me out of that because she just kept saying, no, he's really into music and we'll work this part of it out. And That part was never actually worked out, but
I think something worked out.
oh, those things worked out, but I'm just talking about that small part of getting in trouble.
Of course, yeah.
But no, they were both supportive. To this day, my dad still comes out. Literally, he lives in Ohio, and Cleveland, Ohio, and I shit you not, if he can drive to any one of our shows within 8 hours, he'll do it and follow the bus. And I'm like, Dad, why don't you just fly out and like sleep on the bus? He's like, no, I want to drive. I'm like,
yeah. Our dad's the same way. He loves to ride his motorcycle, so he'll anytime we're like within like a day's drive from Tampa, Florida, which is where he lives, then he'll take the bike out.
that's rad.
We went out a couple of years ago, 2015, with Eric Church, this country guy.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yep.
So,
Something completely different.
so he requested us as a tool because he wanted to get a more rock audience.
Rad.
So he came in our dressing room like first day, and he's like, I don't want you to do ballads. I don't want you to cater to the audience. Nothing twangy. You're here to rock. And so just come out swinging. That's all I ask of you. And I'm like, okay, fucking A. But it was the same thing. You have to prove yourself every single night because it was us, and then there was Dwight Yoakam and Eric Church.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a lot of hats. A lot of
That's so
cowboy hats.
rad, though.
I feel like the Eric Church crowd was a little bit more hip to kind of like,
Yeah.
they were digging us a little bit. But the Dwight Yoakam crowd, you could kind of see in the crowd, in the audience, like who the Dwight Yoakam fans were.
Remember this?
The flannels, the hats, the nudie jackets. And
Yeah.
like totally
Our
different
booking
crowd.
agent sent us a couple letters that he had gotten from the promoter because they thought it was hilarious on this, a couple of promoters. They were getting letters of disdain and disgust because I was saying curse words, and it was supposed to be a family show, and it was. Still have some of them just be like, yeah, I'm so proud. But it was a really strange situation to be in. But also they had these whiskey stations, so they had like bars everywhere, like their own bars.
The tour was sponsored by Jack.
Yeah, tour sponsored by Jack Daniels. So we had a lot of whiskey, but like there would be like the monitor station, that's a bar, and then the backstage station, there's a bar.
Front of house.
So you're telling me I got into the wrong genre?
That's what I'm telling you.
No, dude.
He had a big,
I'm
giant.
sorry, but the rock tours compared to the country tours,
More rock and roll.
we have no clue how to party.
No,
those
apparently.
guys party
So hard.
Well, they only play 3 shows a week. They fly in
That's
for
true.
the weekends and then they fly back. You know,
They
So,
have the
yeah.
week, yeah, the
Weekend Warrior, thing,
whatever
you know,
that
yeah.
is. But,
So while we're on tour with them, like we did the Eric Church shows. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then for the rest of the week, we would go off and do headline shows in between, you know. So they had no problem recovering for a couple of days, but we had to still keep on working.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
But you don't want to say no to them. They're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Let's go do a shot." And you're like, "Okay,"
And
you know. So you do.
I thought it was
And
So
cool.
what
Yeah,
you're saying,
yeah.
RJ, is you succumb to peer pressure.
I
yes.
crumble.
Absolutely.
crumble like a pastry.
Yes.
Is that how I got you on the show? You can be honest. It's how you ended up on the show.
So they got me to be a
That's why he's
auctioneer. Yeah.
He's here right now because he wasn't going to be here. But I'm like, do you want to like hang out with Johnny and drink? He's
And I was like, hell no. Well, there's alcohol. Well,
I should probably say
So you guys really dug the country crowd, though, is what you're saying. They had a lot of. Do you guys both really like whiskey too, though?
Not so much as I used to. I do it occasionally, but whiskey is kind of strange for me.
The problem is that
I
whiskey
drink
gets along with us too well.
Well,
And-
I drink whiskey like I drink wine, and that just gets you exponentially more drunk. So did I say exponentially? Right?
You said it. You said it right.
Is it happening now? Am I
Just
getting drunk?
say it a couple more times. I'm gonna edit it later. I'll throw it on there. Right.
Exponentially?
The only liquor that I will do.
Okay. It's now going to be exponentially. That's
Oh,
right.
exponentially. Okay, yeah.
I'll buy that for $1, Bob. $1, Bob.
Thank you. $1. one rabbit.
I want to ask another thing that I haven't done a country tour yet, but I also haven't been to the Grammys yet, and you guys have been a few times now, right?
Twice
Twice,
now.
yeah.
Twice now. Okay. What What is that? I hear mixed things. Actually, not so much mixed, but I'll be nice and say I've heard mixed things about the entire day of it. What has your guys' experience have been?
It's good and bad because in our genre, it's widely underrepresented, and also there is not enough categories. There's no hard rock category. Metal only has one. It's like metal perform. No, it's two. Metal performance and metal album. Mm-hmm. And then rock gets lumped in with everything. So basically, all of rock it's the avant-garde and it's the alternative, and you can't just lump everything in. You have to separate it if you're actually going to make everything legitimate. And so I've taken upon myself to get involved in the in the Grammy situation.
Wine in your throat?
You're getting me drunk.
I'm so proud, but just wish it was in person. We're gonna have you back on the show so we do that.
I hope that your bed is only like 15, 20 feet away.
Right?
I got the couch there if I don't make it downstairs.
Hang out with dead Fred over there.
Yeah.
No, so there's that element of it, and I ended up presenting in the pre-tell, which if you watch the pre-tell, for those of you listening, it's the most fulfilling thing ever because it's not the pop artists, it's not the popular people that you've heard on the radio, it's the people that have been working their ass off for years to try to make these pieces of music and
if you want to see raw emotion, that's like that's the genuinely shocked reactions.
It was fulfilling to I was presenting the Latin American and children's categories. Wow. And the most amazing thing, so basically what happens is that you go to the Grammys and there's a bunch of parties that you're invited to, including your own from your label and everything, but there's a nominations dinner that you go and they give you a medal because we're all five, it's special medal. They give you a medal and you are you wear it the whole night and you mingle with the people that are also nominated. Okay. And so I went around to everybody like, what category? Because I might be presenting you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And literally 2 of the people that I had met actually won a Grammy the next day, and I got to present to them. I'm sorry, 3 of the people that I met. And I got to present to them this Grammy, and you see it in their face because it's something they had been dreaming of since they were kids, and they've been working so hard. They don't get the credit for it. These are not the Katy Perrys of the world. Yeah. These are not and I love Billie Eilish, but there's not the Billie Eilish of the world. These aren't these shooting stars. They are the people that have been grinding forever, and that's where our categories are. That's where metal is. That's where rock is. That's where used to be hard rock, and so I have this mixed situation because I feel like it's important for people to be recognized amongst our peers, but I think that the overall system needs change. They maybe need to take out, there's a liner notes Grammy. Did you know that?
I did not.
You can vote for the best liner notes. And no cares about that.
I'm sure there's some.
Whoa! There's someone who cares about that. I guarantee you, there's a percentage about people who care about anything. Believe it or not, there's a small percentage of people that care about my podcast.
No. I mean, honestly, if I had known that, we would be more creative with our liner notes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Fuck everybody.
Maybe I don't know. I'll tell you one thing.
I'll do that next round.
I'll tell you one thing.
Fuck everybody.
I'll tell you one thing the Grammys is really missing, though, and that is some avenged goddamn sevenfold, motherfuckers.
Yeah! You guys would fucking slay.
And if I could think of any band that has earned that Medal of Honor for metal bands, literally the Medal of Honor, and you guys, especially in our generation, like you guys are, we're so inspirational. So many bands out there.
Well, and you've always your Northern Star, and I think that that's so important for bands to understand. It's like there's so many bands right now that are popular or not or whatever, and we've toured with a lot of them that chase the paycheck and they chase radio and they chase popularity to the point that you don't even know what kind of band they are anymore because like what are you? Are you like a soccer mom band? Are you an actual rock band? What are you doing? And you guys have always stayed true to whatever it is that you get excited about. And that's all we've ever done. And we relate so hard to you guys, and we've been rooting for you forever, because I think that more musicians need to see that the passion for what you do, that still is, I keep saying Northern Star, but that still is that direction. Absolutely. That you need to follow, you know, and it's so important, because as soon as you lose that, you lose everything. And it doesn't matter if you get popular because you sold out, or it doesn't matter that you got popular because you chased the radio, because you're still not going to fill that hole inside. And even if nothing happens, even if Avenged, even if you guys never get nominated for Grammy, even if you guys never win, whatever the standards are, you guys will always be in our mind and our hearts, like that pivotal band that has always stayed true to whatever it is that you get excited about and you're passionate about. And I think that's so important, you know, for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Hey, man.
Sorry.
That was awesome. Cheers. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. No, I really appreciate you saying that. And it is true. We have always gone our own path and everything like that. So it's not like when I ask about the Grammys, I'm not like, oh, they haven't invited me. We got like the participation medal. I think I have one right here. Yeah, just for being nominated. But I actually haven't physically gone. So it was like, it's. I hope one day we'll get nominated for, or we guess we got nominated already. But I hope we like win one someday. I guess. But it's not. It's never been important.
No,
you're exactly right. And that's, honestly, like the last time we went, and that was kind of like what, I mean, you know, say what you want about Drake. I really liked his speech where he said, like, this thing's great. It's amazing. Trust me. But if you're out there and you're playing to your fans and you're doing well and you're doing it, you're doing it and you're doing it, doing what you love, you don't need this thing. You already got it.
Yeah.
You know?
We have it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, too, because, like, for us, it's the same thing. That was never a goal, but it was a joke, actually. Like once, since we were, like, in middle school, you know, it's like, oh, well, when we win a grant, whatever.
Yeah.
So when it happened, we understood that, you know, and it was a weird category because they had done hard rock / metal performance, right?
Mm-hmm. So we were up against Lamb of God.
It was Lamb of God, Anthrax, Iron Maiden, right? Marilyn Manson, right? And so it was one of those situations where you are looking at this list and you're like, well, if these people didn't exist, and specifically, actually, Anthrax and Lamb of God, the song that was nominated for the Grammy that we were up for, that we won for, was directly inspired by those two bands. So it was such a mindfuck, right? So a week after we won the Grammy, I got on that metal show.
With, love that show, Trunk. Eddie Trunk. Yeah,
happened to have you know, the guitar player and from Lamb of God and the bass player from Anthrax, and
nice.
We were the first question I got asked was, why did you take our Grammy? You know,
that's pretty. I mean, everyone's having fun with it, though. That's great.
I looked at all of them and it's like, I'm like, actually, if it wasn't for the two of you, our song "Love Bites" would have not been created, and therefore would have not won a Grammy. So thank you so much for that.
I love that some other people have probably heard that story before, but you're confirming that it was legitimate. It wasn't just like, you weren't just saying that to be nice while you're like up there or anything like that. Not that you ever would or anything like that, but you know what I mean.
When we were thinking about tempo for Love Bites, we were thinking about Anthrax, and then we farmed out so that we had this one riff, right? And so we were watching.
Oh, no, Joe was listening to a lot of Lamb of God.
Yeah, a lot of Lamb of God.
He was.
Well, we watched that
all
one.
Those riffs
there was a video to dig deeper. There was a video from the two guitar players from Lamb of God, and their name is escaping me right now.
Willie and Mark. Yeah,
Thank you. And they were, yeah, right. Yeah, buddies.
No, we got to play with them in Germany. They were
explaining how they farm out riffs, and basically that was the term that they used, was farming out. As in, we come up with this one riff, and then we tear it apart and put the pieces back together again in a way that's pleasing to our ears. And so we literally did that as an exercise with the riff for Love Bites. So for Love Bites, so do I.
That's super interesting exercise. I hadn't heard of that one before.
We had never heard about it either. So like literally, I'm like this because the first time I was ever on that metal show was via video. Next time I was on like the actual thing, and now it's gone, and I'm kind of like bummed because it was like
show.
Wayne's World but real.
It's gone, and then now you had to settle for Drinks with Johnny, and then I get it.
This. But yeah, no, it's interesting how those things get passed down. I keep saying like all of these situations, it's like passing the torch. Nobody's in competition with each other.
Yeah.
It's just we are influenced by what gets us excited and what moves us. And there are bands that move us and there are bands that don't. And there are some bands that you're like, I never want to be that guy, and that's what it is.
I think the important thing though, especially with the Grammys and with the rock world and the heavier music genre world, is that like it really is this this community of like wanting to help each other out.
That is true.
We kind of feel like we're the underdog here, so it's like, well,
we're always
why are we gonna fight or be in?
Yeah,
so,
why are you gonna be in
that's
a
what I love about
competition with other
Nashville
people?
here.
Yeah, I gotcha.
There's an amazing rock and metal community in Nashville, and I know that Nashville is known for their country thing, and that's on the surface. But everybody in the rock community, they promote each other's shows. They come out and see each other's shows. They tell all of their fans to come out and see their buddies' shows. That's something that we never saw in Pennsylvania. We grew up in Pennsylvania, and it was like they eat their young, like as in like literally. I remember this one time. So we got involved with this producer in Philadelphia who let us use his studio to like record. And this metal band that will name was still working right now, and I don't want to like call him out, but they approached me.
No,
like,
go ahead, call him out. Why not?
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter now because they don't care about me. But they approached me and they're like, well, why didn't you take us with you? And then the same thing happened like when we got signed. Oh, why didn't you take us with you? I'm like, well, it's not a 2-for-1 deal. It's like, that's not, like, I can't be like, well, I'm not going to sign with you unless you sign so-and-so too.
Every other band and something.
It's like, what's going on? I'm not here to say
it's also a tough scene. Right? I think that Philadelphia especially was like a really happening music scene for a while, but
yeah,
but it was really struggling at that time. And the reason that we got signed is because luckily our producer started booking us in New York. And we started doing showcases up there. And for months, we were doing showcases like every week.
This was guerrilla showcasing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a place called Don Hill's, and Don Hill himself used to own the Cat House back in the day, back in the had Blondie and whatever the fuck else. Yeah. So we got in this club. And no, this wasn't actually David Ivory's thing. He didn't book us there. We booked ourselves there because we had a show. He liked us, so he's like, hey, why don't you come up like every first Wednesday of the month? What basically I'm gonna like.
We won the club owner.
Won the club owner, and then so what we do is that we rented a van, like a 20-passenger, whatever the fuck it was, van, and we would gather our super fans that were in Pennsylvania. I'm like, do you want to go to New York? We'll get you some booze.
Yeah,
whatever the fuck it is.
For this amount of money, you get to
you get to drive to New York.
We get to like hang in New York. You get like whatever.
We would fill up.
I love this idea.
We would fill up bottles of Pepsi. We would empty them out halfway, fill it up with whiskey, so that it would be like road sodas, and like just literally booze up our super fans.
Which is so central Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Been there. But like, that's what they do anyway.
We would go to this club and fill up the place with our Pennsylvania fans because we didn't have any fans in New York, right? So it was super guerrilla. So everyone's like, man, it's like really consistent.
We even had gorillas in the band. It was so guerrilla. We actually had gorillas at the show. It was great. They offered free bananas. They loved it.
All right, we're now turning this rest of the podcast. The however more minutes we got is now every time you hear gorilla, you have to take a shot.
Hey!
New rule. King. That hands.
I'll add it in post.
New rules, everybody.
New rules. But it was funny because, like, after a little while, it's like, you keep doing that. So it was part of our thing. Like, so we'd do shows in Pennsylvania. We would advertise that we're take a trip up to New York? Do you want to go to New York? Whatever. And so we would do this thing back and forth for fucking months. And so first, the first thing that happened was there was this lawyer guy that came, David Chidikel.
Okay.
And he would come and he saw us and he's like, hey man, like you guys are like doing your thing, whatever. And basically like we knew it's like, well, fake it till you make it. And we were getting a trickling of a following in that club, but it wasn't the amount, like we literally covered our asses, with having a crowd that was coming in. So eventually it was like, well, hey, I know a couple label people. So we showcased for fucking Island Def Jam, Columbia, Epic, Hollywood Records. There was like a dozen others. And they were all like, hey, you guys are great. You're consistent. But we don't actually know what to do with you because there's a girl in the band. That literally was a conversation. But it was
okay. Wait a second. I gotta pause that for just a second though, because whose idea is it originally to do the gorilla? And secondly, like after you've already decided to go through and down it, like it's a question. What are you gonna do with a girl singer? I find that like kind of like funny because I mean a lot of times different climate, I guess, but like that's kind of a signature now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I guess at the time, like Evanescence broke out, Lacuna Coil was around, and then Flyleaf had like just come out, kind of right before we did.
So
but
we didn't
it was still pretty
understand.
scarce.
Yeah, we didn't understand why that was a thing. If we're actually like being, because some of these people would come to multiple showcases. They'd be like, okay, well, I know you're coming back. And so they would say the same thing. They'd be like, well, you're actually very consistent. Like, you can always sing. It's always a great show. Mm-hmm. But we don't know what to do with you, basically, And so...
Also, we really didn't have any songs. We didn't really have hit songs.
We didn't have the hit songs.
And that's what everyone's looking for.
We didn't have the shiny...
It was like, so what? We put on a killer show, man. So...
we were doing like...
Just,
We were doing like a lot of our earlier stuff was like, it was like Taste My Life, so it was like Zeppelin-y or...
I think we kind of got a little bit of a, not intentionally, but we kind of got a little bit of a development deal. Okay. Because we got signed, but it was still several years before our record came out. We just kept on sending them songs.
Yeah, because I read somewhere that you guys were writing and touring since like 97 or something like that. And then like, it wasn't until 2009 that the first record, the debut, came out.
2004, 2005, we were showcasing, this one A&R guy at Atlantic. He loved us. He basically put his job on the line.
He absolutely
His name is Lee Lust. He's an amazing dude. He's not there anymore, unfortunately, but he was...
This could go so much deeper.
One of the reasons that we got signed, but both him and
so
Don
Hill. So
Hill.
you sent 3 bottles then?
Yeah, we need another one now.
We'll finish with this before we get through this.
So we got signed because of our live show. Like, they loved us as a band. Like, all right, well, we can't let you go. Like, well, let's sign you, but keep sending us songs until we hear something we like.
So Lee had the idea of let's do a live EP, basically. We'll do a live EP with all the songs that we have. And if you want to look it up, it's called One and Done.
We only had 5 songs. That's all we had.
No, actually.
Sarcasm.
We narrowed it down to 5, so it's a 5-song EP. And sorry, I digress. But like we got signed in 2005. Mm-hmm. Basically, it was the same. Lee Lust was basically, he was coming over and over, and he's like, okay, cool.
Did the live EP.
And I will fall on soul for this band. We ended up signing with Atlantic, Go Big or Go Home. They signed us proper. There was no development deal, but it was kind of treated as such. Whereas like we did this live EP and went right out on the road.
Yeah, they were like, okay, you don't really have the songs, but let's see how you do on tour,
right? So we went out on tour, from 2005 through
06. Like we did a Snowcore with Shine Down and Cedar and Flyleaf.
08 or something, and then finally got in the studio, right? Yeah. So,
all right. They don't break, and they're sponsoring this podcast.
Okay, so I'm really hoping that was the empty one, right?
It was the empty one.
Okay.
The dildo went first. The dildo went first.
Oh,
and
okay.
then the bottle, yeah.
We're giving you the long story here.
Yeah.
By the way.
So,
no, that's what. Hey, that's what this is about. I'm enjoying this. This is the kind of shit that I don't get to know, and that's like why This is just us fucking talking and having a good time. I'm loving it. Thank you guys again for being on the show.
About your process too after this, but anyway,
we ended up selling 500,000 or something of those EPs.
Okay, not 500,000.
on tour.
We sold a lot.
We hustled our asses off.
Right.
And did the whole thing, and finally they started putting the
barcodes on it.
Because at first there was no barcode.
So we sold a ton of those CDs, and they were like, okay, well there's something. So that kind of saved us from the chopping block.
Yeah.
So we went out to LA, in 07 to write.
To write and like.
And that turned for a month, and that turned into 2 years.
Turned into 2 years. Our A&R guy got fired.
Our first producer dropped out.
Our first and second producer dropped out, and then so like the whole, and we lived through. There was a fire. Yeah. And then a mudslide, and then like 3 earthquakes.
Yes.
Wait. Let's back that up. Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay, we're talking about music, and now you're talking about natural fucking disasters?
We're at the Oakwoods. You know the Oakwoods.
I know the Oakwoods in L.A.?
Okay.
The furnished over in Burbank? Yeah.
So when we were about to make our first record, and we hauled up in the Oakwoods, we were only supposed to be there a month to kind of meet with some producers and maybe do some writing and like whatever. And we ended up being 19 months total from that moment to the time that our first album got mixed. And that was because 2 producers dropped out, our A&R guy got fired, all of our peers were getting dropped. This was like that year where like there was like 800 people.
Yeah, this was 2005, so it was like kind of that transition where a lot of record labels were really freaking out. A guy hands.
We didn't go to the Oakwoods till 2007.
2007, yeah. So this was like, 05 through like 09-ish, where it was like that kind of like really shaky time in the music business where everybody was freaking out. Bands were getting dropped. People were getting laid off. It was a scary time. So it was right around then when 360 deals started coming into play, which we signed
the worst of that.
But we're going to take everything. We're like, well, it's either that or don't get signed, so I guess you're taking everything. So we signed it. They were actually appreciative that we signed it, so they were like, "Okay, well, we'll go easy on it, And
which we said
they were appreciative for a reason. Let's be real.
But for all you new bands out there that are like trying to get signed or whatever, like don't not do it. I'm just saying, prepare to be broke for a long time.
Well, no. Actually, it's funny. Actually, for any new bands that are actually going through that. Don't let a label sign you to a 360 because it's actually null and void now.
Oh yeah,
like there's nothing. They're making money streaming, literally making We're making pennies on streaming compared to what they're making.
Exactly.
So long story short, right?
So it has gotten better. For some bands.
So we were going through these ups and downs, Monday to Friday. Like are we signed? Are we getting dropped? I don't know. And we're making this record, and we would go down to the corner store at the Oakwoods and buy this like the cheapest. We were buying like our produce from the dollar store. We were so fucking.
Oh, the 99-cent store.
The 99-cent store. Yeah,
I know it very well.
Oh, we were there every week.
And we go down this corner store. There would be like there was always like a special, like there's like a $5 bottle of champagne or something like that. So we get champagne every time something fucking weird happened. We're like, all right, guys, cheers to us. We're doing it, and we're going home. And
probably gonna get dropped, or probably gonna be stuck back in Pennsylvania.
Even if we gotta play the Tourist Inn in Pelham, Pennsylvania, which some of you guys have probably been there, don't have the Bloody Mary. It tastes like ketchup. Fuck it. We did it.
I think because they use ketchup. It's just vodka and ketchup.
And it just kept
That's
going.
the Bloody Mary.
It just kept going, and we kept like kind of
the
surviving.
hot dog of Bloody Marys.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ketchup, vodka, and a hot dog. That's. Oh man. Well, I'm curious about how. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Ohio, where your dad is now?
No. My dad moved out there. I grew up here in Huntington Beach. I moved to Westminster for like a second. Which is literally like, it's basically saying it's the outskirts of Huntington Beach. It's the same fucking thing. And then I moved back, and now the 4 of us now all live like within walking distance of each other right here in downtown Huntington Beach.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's great.
But you guys got signed out of LA, right? Like, were you guys showcasing in LA? Was it kind of a similar story for you guys? Or?
We weren't showcasing per se, not like that. We were on the 2003 Warped Tour, and a lot of bands were, a lot of labels were coming out with their A&R agents, checking out and like got the buzz. Actually, we have a similar story, and the one guy that was super into us, brought everyone else in, was Andy Oliphant, who's still a very good and dear friend to us. And he's no longer with the label, everything like that, but he was the original guy that brought us to Craig Aronson and Tom Wally over at Warner. That Tom Wally was running Warner. Aronson was a big A&R agent that had just blown up with the Used at the time. And, yeah, among a bunch of other things, obviously.
To talk about stars aligning, that's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Talk about the Warped Tour. How'd you guys survive that?
Well, from being in Southern California, like our influences and stuff, we had gone to a lot of these Warped Tours. We were huge into the punk scene, like the Southern California punk scene at the very least. So we were out there as kids. I think every single one of us had our own individual garage punk band where we'd play like house shows and stuff with before we all came together. And being on Warped Tour was fucking fantastic. We're super sad that it doesn't exist anymore, to be honest, because a lot of people aren't going to get that experience. I mean, talk about camaraderie around tour, and you're absolutely right. It exists today in rock, but after a show, after everyone's like pulling their shit away and helping each other out, I'd say a lot of tours now, you look and there is a bit of a level of like, these guys are in vans and these guys are in buses. 90% of the people are in vans anyway. So everyone's on a level playing field out there. Right. The camaraderie after the show is something that I haven't seen matched. Like, we try and bring it out when we're on festivals and stuff. I don't know if you guys remember, like, I'll still try and do like a cookout every once in a while and like invite the younger bands and stuff.
Yes. Oh, you were the king of cookouts for sure. I've been to a couple of those.
So that's that was an idea adopted from the Vans Warped Tours that we did before. There was always a band that would cook for everybody at the end of the night. Everyone would just be hanging out. You'd be hanging out with, like, for us, some of our like all-time heroes in Rancid and No Effects and Pennywise and the Vandals.
Awesome.
I mean, This was something that like that was like a whole thing. And yes, we're already excited to be on this tour, nonetheless. But we're starting to get this notoriety because, like you said, you start off the show a cappella. You do things to be seen differently when you're out with these other people.
Gotta stand out. Yeah.
I mean, Warped Tour. I mean, I can only imagine that. We've never done a Warped Tour, but I can only imagine the camaraderie is so strong because not only is it survival is it career survival, it's just straight up survival on Warped Tour. Like, your goal is to stay alive and healthy.
The schedule is strange.
It's very strange.
Yeah,
it's band boot camp, right? On
Absolutely.
Warped Tour.
So everyone, I dropped out of high school. I never went to college. Warped Tour was my college, and
high school too.
You did?
Yeah.
What year did you drop out?
I ended up getting my GED to graduate.
I never finished my last year. Yeah.
I never finished. That's so funny, RJ. I have the same story. I dropped out to join this band. They had already been a band for about 2-3 years before I joined, and they needed a replacement. And I was like, I can do the job, I think. And next thing I knew, I was touring with these guys.
Hell yeah!
Everyone stay in school, but if you have a really cool idea,
there's hope for you dropouts out there.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, though, I think that's what I've always loved about you guys is that I can really, really hear the punk roots.
Yeah.
With you guys, like, there's a lot of like, I mean, you guys are.
It's that raw thing.
You guys have always been like super tight, super clean with the way you play, but you guys have that punk energy that I think a lot of metal bands probably lack.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it just comes from our influences. I mean, like I said, that's where it came from. And again, as you guys were, I feel like this is the compliment show now, but like when you were giving compliments before, it was like, no, it's very flattering. I appreciate it.
This is the mutual respect show.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. I mean, there is absolute mutual respect. I have to say, I've loved every moment of you guys' career to this date, and I can't wait to hear what's coming out next.
We're all still evolving, and like, as you know, you just got to keep those eyes forward. So
yeah. It's super cool. That wasn't my segue out or anything. I just wanted to say that.
The perfect way to
All
wrap
right,
up.
see you later.
Yes, perfect. Thank you for having us on your show, man.
Cheers,
Yeah,
man.
cheers again. Thank you so much. Can you guys give a little shout out to yourselves? I know that always feels awkward, but where are you individually? Where is Halestorm together? Where can everyone find a little bit more of you?
Well,
Sure,
honestly, if you Google Hale
Google.
Storm, you can find us anywhere. But it's hailstormrocks.com. I'm official Lzzy Hale on Instagram. You're
And
at
I'm at Arejay Hale. Let's go, RJ Hale. On Twitter, Instagram, and
not the Let's Go.
everything, and TikTok. I also have a TikTok.
Yes, you're my first guest with a TikTok. I love it.
We're so
Oh,
proud.
I hope you're ready to laugh.
He's the first guy in our band that has actually engaged in TikTok.
You know what I really loved was Vine. I loved
You were a
Vine
Vine
when it
guy.
came out,
Yeah.
and I was so sad when Vine went away. So this is like the next generation of Vine.
That's what it is. I'm glad you gave me that analogy. I've been asking a lot of people what the fuck it is, and you gave me the analogy, and I'm 35 years old, and I still don't know what the fuck that is.
I know, because I went on there and was like, oh my god.
It's
I'm not
fun,
in middle
man.
school anymore. yeah,
I heard it's fun.
But you're
It's, you know,
perpetually in
it's
middle school,
not, but I stand by my, and you can judge me, you can hate me for it, but I think Vine was better because it was only 6 seconds long. It
How
was
long
the
is TikTok?
it was the ultimate ADD kids like entertainment because like in 6 seconds, if you can't like come up with a brilliant punchline, then you're on to the next one. Doesn't matter. This is like a 15-second thing, and it's still good. And it's still funny, and it's still got a lot of cool tricks to it, but it's no Vine, but I've accepted it, and I've been having fun with it.
How long is a TikTok now? Tell me that.
It's like 15 seconds to 30
Too long.
seconds. But you can, you can
That's what she
upload,
said.
you can upload your own edited videos, I think up to like maybe 30 something. Yeah, that's right. How long is too long? Really?
No, that'll be episode 3 when I have you guys on again. We'll talk about how long is too long with Halestorm.
You hear that? There is a too long.
Thanks again for being on the show. Thanks everyone for listening to Drinks with Johnny, and we will catch you next time.
Love you, Joe.
Love you.
Hey, drinks, getting drunk with Johnny. A great way to spend a Wednesday night.